Hi, I'm Tyler, and welcome to another episode of my Christian Music Week reviews. Each week I take 5 releases, be it albums, EPs, or singles, and after I've listened to them all week, I come back here and I review them. I share what I think about them. So without further ado, let's get to this week's first release. Newsboys cover of Hillsong Worship's King of Kings featuring Bart, Millard, and Mercy Me. So before I dive into my thoughts of Newsboys' cover of Hillsong Worship's King of Kings featuring Mercy Me lead singer Bart Millard, let me just say this came across as a request from Christian Music Girl. Thanks, Christian Music Girl, for requesting this song from Newsboys. And also the new Hulvey single that I'm going to be doing a little later on. But let's talk about Newsboys first. So, pretty good cover here. Both Michael Tate and Bart Millard do a good job singing here. Stylistically, I like the pop rock and rock worship feel that they give this worship song. And as for the lyrics here, one thing I gotta say about the lyrics is I really loved the lyrics from the first time that I heard this song from Hillsong Worship. Really gives a picture, eloquently gives the story of our redemption, of what Jesus has done to redeem us. And as for the lyrics here, they talk about praising Jesus, the glorious King of Kings, who came mercifully running to reconcile us who were lost in the hopeless dark to the Father by being born, fulfilling the law and prophets, dying on the cross, seeing the salvation that would come, and rise from the grave to conquer death, resurrect us, and birth his church. Up next, the deluxe edition of Maverick City Music and Kirk Franklin's new album, Kingdom Book 1. The deluxe edition of Maverick City Music and Kirk Franklin's collaborative album, Kingdom Book 1. Let's dive into it. So what's different about this deluxe edition? Well, it combines Kingdom Book 1, and now we also get Kingdom Book 2. So, pretty good deluxe edition overall. I probably like Book 1 better than Book 2, stylistically here. So, Book 1 had kind of a gospel worship feel with emphasis on the gospel, but with some definite worship influence as well, along with some hip-hop elements. And while we see the gospel elements still played out strongly in Kingdom Book 2, and some worship as well, we see something that is not really expected from Maverick City Music, and that is some R&B influence. At first, I was a little thrown off guard by it, like, wow, this sounds really different from Maverick City Music. But eventually, I came to see that, you know what? This is pretty good too, like Kingdom Book 1 was. And as for the lyrics here, and I decided to combine both books here to give my lyric summary. Maverick City Music and Kirk Frank, and pretty good lyrics here on both books. Maverick City Music and Kirk Franklin talk about how we are the imperfect children of God, who when we wandered into sinful idolatry and others wrote us off, Jesus gave his sufficient blood, rose, and perfectly planned to use the storms of life to bring us back to being close to his incomparably faithful, life-giving, better love that sets us free from death, fear, and sin to the point where now we leave behind that idolatry to love him and reveal his love. And now when we're down in our storms, we joyfully weep it in his risen hands that hold us and catch us when we fall, knowing that He is not done till He works everything into beautiful. Up next, Sovereign Grace Music's new EP, Unchanging God, songs from the Book of Psalms, Volume 2. So before I dive my thoughts on Sovereign Grace Music's new EP, Unchanging God, songs from the Book of Psalms, Volume 2, let me just say a couple things. Number one, thanks to my friend Connie for requesting it. And also, if you want to hear my thoughts on Volume 1, I reviewed that as well, and you can go back and check that out after we're done here. But let's talk about Volume 2 here today. So, pretty good EP here. Stylistically, definitely worship here, with some contemporary pop rock influences sprinkled in a couple of the songs. A couple of songs are really upbeat as well. A lot of songs lean on the mellower side, but whether upbeat or mellow, all the songs are pretty good on this album here. And as for the lyrics here, so as I talked about with the first one, let's compare how they remind me. So as I said about the first EP, and I'm going to say about the second EP, each of the songs is based on a different psalm. Again, these are not the psalms verbatim, but you can definitely see when you read the psalm and listen to each song, you can definitely see where each song came from. And each song represents the message of the psalm very well. And as for the lyrics here, love the lyrics here. Sovereign Grace Music exhorts all creation, and I especially like their emphasis on that, exhorting all creation. So often, we think of only us humans praising God, but in reality, the Bible calls for all creation to do it. So I think it's pretty cool that they included that here on this EP. Not something we always hear a lot in worship music. Exhorts all creation to crown the Lord Jesus with thankful praise, for He is incomparably worthy. For how He in His mercifully faithful love, He was slain for us, bearing our weakness, to redeem us from slavery to our sinfully dead hearts. And for how, when we're in a valley of trials, where our enemies surround us in prosperity, we can be still in peace and faith, knowing that He will keep His promise to provide our daily needs, be right beside us, and ultimately defeat the enemies and the trial to turn it into good. Up next, Hulvey's new single, Beautiful. Hulvey's new single, Beautiful. Thanks, Christian Music Girl, again for requesting this song. Let's dive into it. So, pretty good single here from Hulvey. Stylistically, it's a pop and R&B hip-hop banger. Also, it incorporates a sample and a gospel choir as well. Hulvey sings and sing-raps here, and as for the lyrics here, pretty good lyrics here. Hulvey talks about how God has been so beautifully good in His majestically holy, unusual love that He can't box in, and that has set Him free from fear of death, when all He felt was tragedy. Up next, our last release for today, PEABOD's new EP, Growing Up, Part 2. So before I dive my thoughts on PEABOD's new EP, Growing Up, Part 2, let me just say a couple things. Number one, thanks, Jake, for requesting this EP. And number two, if you want to go back and hear my thoughts on Part 1, I reviewed that as well, and you can go back and check that out after we're done here. But let's talk about Part 2 here. So, good sound here. And there are some good songs on here. However, his vocal performance is not always my favorite at times. So, that did hurt my perception of a couple of the tracks at times, but definitely some good moments here too. And that's just my take. stylistically here. Definitely a diverse EP here, as he incorporates hip-hop, pop rock, R&B, and alternative elements here. And some songs in the earlier portion of the EP lean more towards the hip-hop side of things, the first two songs. By the way, if you're looking for a hip-hop banger from this EP, my favorite part is definitely the hard-hitting track on this EP. So the first two songs lean toward the hip-hop side of things. The next two songs are kind of more on the pop side of things. And then Alive is kind of a fusion of the two. Vocally here, Peabod sings and raps. And as for the lyrics here, so, while I definitely had my ups and downs as far as the music side of it went, as for the lyrics here, I definitely like the lyrics here. Peabod talks about how he was caught in an uncertain bad season of waiting that he felt like would last forever and made him mad and weary. But he let go of that and put his hope in Jesus too, in his sufficient love that is by his side, resurrect him into a new season where Peabod can optimistically feel alive again to follow Jesus' good leading, knowing that every part of his life is in his plans. Well, that's it for this week. Come back next week for 5 more releases. If you like my songs video, please subscribe. I put out videos every Friday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific Time. Also, if you have any thoughts on today's releases or what I may have said about them, let me know that in the comments below. Also in the comments, you can let me know if there's any awesome releases that came out today that you want to see in next week's video. Also, check out the playlist section for my Music Month Dreams playlist available here on YouTube and also on Spotify. And you can still enjoy this month's edition of the playlist through Sunday, featuring songs from artists like Manifest, Matthew West, Rhett Walker, Big Daddy Weeb, and others. And know that a new edition of the playlist is on the way this Monday. So you can check that out then if you're interested. Well, go now. See you next week.